and welcome to Creature Club, a podcast where we talk about the monsters in the tabletop role-playing game Dungeons and Dragons. I am your host, Mikey DC, and I'm with my co-host, or just the other host, Daniel.
Hello.
And Tim.
That's me.
How's it going, guys? Hello.
Feeling
How are
good.
you? Good to have you on the show, finally.
Oh, well, you know. We appreciate the invite for just the one episode, but,
Yeah.
you know, we like to contribute.
Good to have you in the Creature Club studio.
Yeah, it's beautiful here.
Surprised how much money you spent. I don't know why everything's gold plated. That's actually
Yeah, I spent too much money.
Remember when Richie Rich, where Richie Rich had a McDonald's in his house?
Yes.
And as a kid, you were like, "That's really cool," but now as an adult, I'm like, McDonald's is shit.
Yeah.
I'd much rather just hire a chef if I had that kind of money.
McDonald's is a bit crap, but like as a musician who plays a lot of gigs on the road, I've had to have a lot of McDonald's and or just burgers in general, or just fast food. You know. So I understand eating it.
That's fair. I mean, I suppose when I say McDonald's is shit, what I mean is specifically because McDonald's is like weirdly expensive but isn't good food.
Yeah.
Like actual fast food is fine. Like Chipper is fine. Chipper's great.
Chipper's great, yeah, but I still shouldn't be eating that much. I do eat a lot of burgers.
They're good for you.
Yeah, the other day I had noodles actually before a gig, so that was fun.
That's cool.
So anyway, yeah.
Get on with it.
Do people listen to the show for this? I
Oh,
don't know.
totally.
But this week we are talking about the Chimera, a monster of Greek myth. Yes. Centaur was Greek myth, and this guy's Greek myth too. The Chimera, if you don't know it, he is the one with the lion head, the ram's body, and classically he has a snake for a tail, but in D&D, this picture, he has another dragon head, not on a tail, but it's on him. So, yeah, that's kind of strange, but yeah, there you go.
He's got 3 heads. He also has a big pair of kind of dragon wings and a tail as well. Although he doesn't have a snake on the tail.
Yeah. So, because it's not like in D&D, it's not saying that he's part snake. It's saying that he's part dragon, kind of.
Yes.
To fit with the D&D dragon kind of theme.
Yeah, and I think also and also just to get break him up a bit and make him a little different to the one in Myth. I'm not sure why. Maybe just because wings are cooler.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. So one thing that's interesting that I only learned recently is Chimera is Greek for she-goat.
Oh.
Okay.
That's all it means. And it's funny because the second part of that name, obviously we still use now, mare, to mean like a female horse or donkey.
Okay.
There you go. Word fun. That's what I'm here for.
But so its history is obviously, as you said, Greek, and so it was a monster that ravaged the countryside of Lycia in Greek mythology.
I'll go there for my chairs and beds and stuff.
Lycia or Lycia in.
It's very, very late of us recording this, guys, and we're all very tired.
We're all quite tired.
Yeah.
In Anatolia. It was a bizarre fire-breathing creature with a body and head of a lion and a goat's head rising from its back and the udders of a goat and a serpent for a tail. So originally it didn't have any wings at all.
No, it didn't.
But it still breathed fire, though.
Yeah, that's interesting to me.
Yeah, I thought that was just because they put the dragon in this, and they wanted to do it because they wanted fire breath. But I didn't know he breathed fire before.
Yeah, he apparently. So he was. It's kind of a heroic story. It's quite D&D, kind of a one-on-one kind of session that you'd have where the hero Bellerophon was commanded by King Iobates to slay the beast.
I think.
Iobates.
I don't know the pronunciation.
And he rode into the battle on the winged horse Pegasus. And he killed him with a lead-tipped lance that melted in his throat, and he choked on the molten metal. So that's the kind of classic myth.
You guys play Age of Mythology?
No, I was more of an Age of Empires boy.
Yeah.
Well, I loved Age of Mythology myself, and he was a unit. He's a hero unit. It was him on a Pegasus.
Oh, nice.
Or
cool.
On Pegasus. But in that game, you can have more than one Pegasus.
Yeah.
But they had like a bunch of heroes, and he was one of them. So it was cool.
Radical.
And they had monsters as well. Did they have a Chimera or anything like that?
Yes, they did have Chimera. Yeah.
Cool.
They had them all. Yeah.
Nice.
Gotta catch them
That was
all.
a good game. Yeah.
So this is a couple of interesting things about the Chimera of myth. Obviously, it has what's interesting is it still breathes fire even though it doesn't have a dragon head. Presumably it breathes fire out of the lion's head, although that's never clarified.
Yeah.
the reason that what's his face Bellerophon fought on the back of Pegasus is because Bellerophon used his bow to fight the Chimera, which is interesting because the reason he did that is because the Chimera didn't have wings, unlike the Chimera in D&D, and so it wasn't able to reach him when he was flying above it.
So this is kind of an upgrade to the original.
Yeah, this is like a fun sort of Chimera Mark II, and the Chimera is like also it's considered in the mythological Chimera is supposedly female, even though it's often depicted as having a lion's like mane, and obviously the mane is traditionally associated with male lions.
I do how like just fighting it on the ground while you're in the air shooting with a bow. That's such like a D&D thing where like you want an exciting fight, but your player's like, oh, we can just shoot it from the air and it won't hit us.
Your player's like, but
God
wait,
damn
like
it.
3 games ago we made that deal with that flying creature, so I'm just going to call in that dead and use it to fight this monster on my own, and just
It's like,
perfect.
God damn it.
I
had an interesting fight written out and everything.
And sorry, interestingly enough, this is something that's kind of cool. The in some versions of the myth, the Chimera is the mother of the Sphinx and the Nemenian lion.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
So the Sphinx is obviously something we'll get to in this book. Way away. But the Nemenian lion is a very cool mythological creature. It's basically a lion that was super indestructible. That Heracles was able to kill by making it eat a sword, and then took its hide because its hide was indestructible, and that's part of the reason he was indestructible.
Yeah.
And the old Sphinx is most famously associated with Oedipus Rex and his
Yes.
his flippin', what's it called? Dang it. What's the like trick question called? Riddle.
Oh, riddle?
Riddle. And his famous riddle. I don't know why that's escaped me.
I was like, what's Tim looking for? Yes,
riddles.
The Sphinx obviously associated with riddles, and also strongly associated with ancient Egypt. But yeah, so that's kind of it's kind of cool. It's one of those monsters that is a mother of monsters, which is always a good thing to have in your world.
Yeah.
Great source of evil if you want to incorporate that kind of more kind of classical mythological thing where everything is kind of related, right? Like maybe the Chimera is the mother of your monsters or whatever.
They have like a relationship to each other, or like a common ancestor.
And that's it, really. The Chimera only really appears in Greek myth. There are suggestions that it may have kind of bled into Egypt, actually. There's an Egyptian god who bears some similarities to the Chimera, and people think that maybe they were inspired by that, because obviously back then those two civilizations did interact.
Yeah.
And then it shows up a bit in medieval art, although a lot of the time it's more like the manticore we haven't got to yet. But there's some versions of the manticore that look a bit like the Chimera, because the manticore was kind of just a weird just a weird hybrid creature, like evil hybrid. So sometimes it would bear some similarities to the Chimera, but a lot of the time I think historians think that that's mostly coincidental. Or like maybe once someone saw a Chimera or like talked about it or whatever. So sorry, just in terms of the Chimera's history, the only thing I'll mention is if I look in my old Greyhawk supplement, which obviously is a great source, it's actually got some similarities to the monster in the 5th edition book.
Okay.
It mentions that the monster can attack with its 2 claws and its 3 heads. It has a goat head, a lion head, and a dragon head. So that's interesting. Even in OD&D, the Chimera had a dragon's head rather than a goat's head. And there's a brief section, which is kind of cool actually. It says there's a section on like kind of like monster ecologies almost, and there's a little section called dissimilar monsters who still act in combination, such as, and one of the examples is an evil high priest riding a Chimera. So there you go.
Handy.
That's the extent of its appearance in. Oh, and it has 9 hit dice, if anyone cares.
It's got 12 in this one.
There you go. It's only getting more powerful. But yeah, so that's as always. Greyhawk is sort of quite lightweight on rules, which is kind of what you expect. It's much more about rulings and interpretations. So there isn't a kind of a big fancy stat block. There's just what it does, what its hit dice are, therefore how hard it is to kill and how much damage it will do approximately.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And so in this 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons manual, here is what the Chimera is described as. So it says, Chimeras were created after mortals summoned the Demogorgon to the world. The Prince of Demons, unimpressed with the creatures that surrounded it, transformed them into horrific multi-headed monstrosities.
Which is pretty hog wild.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like, I don't like you. Let's make you worse.
Your monsters aren't monstrous enough. Let's mush these together and see what happens.
Yeah.
It is a very
Proceed.
classically just super evil thing to do.
Yeah.
So I will continue reading. Gifted with demonic cruelty, a chimera serves as a grim reminder of what happens.
Or a chimera.
Chimera. Whatever their name is.
Whatever you like.
Yeah. Always
I'm
ask them.
Chimera, actually.
You can just call me Chim from now on. The gift of good. The chimera serves as a grim reminder of what happens when demon princes find their way onto the material plane. A typical specimen has it goes into a description as we have described. The monster likes to surprise its victims, swooping down from the sky and engulfing its prey with fiery breath before landing.
Now that's interesting there, actually, what you kind of skipped over there. A typical specimen.
Ah.
So it's saying that, like, you can kind of make whatever you want out of it.
Well, yeah.
You know, like, kind of making different beasts together, forming together.
Like, this is probably the classical one that, like, Demogorgon made OG. But I'd imagine if he got bored enough, or if you had someone else in the world who was evil enough to want to mush monsters together, you could totally just make your own.
I think if they were evil, they wouldn't use the word mush.
Yeah, that's true. I'm going to mush them together. Boss, could you please change your wording?
Boss, I'm going to buy you a dictionary, I swear to God. Or a thesaurus, I guess.
I need a thesaurus, not a dictionary.
On the subject of that idea of, like, mixing monsters, the word chimera, which obviously represents both a specific monster, can also mean like a mixture. So, like, even it's actually an adjective. You can say something is chimeric.
Yeah.
Like,
okay,
to say that it is a mix of different things.
Yeah.
So that idea, I mean, there's even things like chimeric genealogy. Like, there's types of humans who technically have like 2 different DNA strands in their bodies as a result of different things.
Chickens are actually quite prone to chimerism, where half of their body will be the male chicken and half their body will be the female chicken, and they can be split like perfectly down the middle.
What?
It's fantastic to see.
That's some Metal Gear Solid shit right there.
That is
like,
actually
that's a real thing.
Solid shit.
And you know how
so interesting.
Some cats are patchy, like they'll have just a very heavily black influence, and then they'll have the kind of the Sokoke, or not the Sokoke, the what are they called? Anyway, the kind of marbled red and green kind of thing. I'm colorblind, so I could be wrong, but that is a technical kind of chimerism where how they developed in utero in their mothers kind of is the splitting of the 2 gene pools.
Weird.
Yeah, isn't that super cool?
That is super
strange.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hi, welcome to Creature Club. It's a podcast about genetics sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
What do we talk about in this show?
It's a podcast where 3 idiots make up shit about genetics.
I think genetics is this.
I think it's this, actually. Oh, God. Yeah, we're talking about the chimera. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, so it talks about how it's a creature that kind of it basically incorporates the worst elements of all of its creatures. It kind of has to stretch this, but it's kind of funny. It's like, it's a dragon, so like it wants to like raid and plunder, and like it wants material goods like dragons do. You're like, yeah, that makes sense. And it's like it's a lion, so it has like a territorial nature, and like it wants to like fight any like competition in its area. Like, that makes sense. And then it's like it's a ram, so it's really stubborn, I guess. And you're like, right, okay. I just thought it was really funny that like it's so obvious. They're like, what does the goat head do?
That was like a meeting on that day. We're like, all right, they're like sitting down, at the board meeting, like, right, what does a goat head do? Stubborn, I guess. Great, you're getting a raise.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, like, stubborn as a ram, it does make sense, but it is also like it just doesn't seem as impressive as the other 2 traits, really.
Yeah. The ram never felt like the most impressive trait of the chimera. Like, if I was to like if you asked me as a kid and said like, okay, add 3 monsters together, or add 3 animals together to make a cool monster, like, lion, snake, ram,
like I'd probably like lion, snake, and shark.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Or like bear or something.
Yeah. Just more big teeth. Yeah.
Or the shark and bear, who we probably will get to at some point.
Or a multi-bear.
That's a homebrew that friend of the show, Jack, sent us a while back.
Yeah,
Oh
nice.
yeah. Okay, so and then it talks about how they can have an area as large as a 10-mile diameter sort of territory, which is pretty big. It's certainly very large, but this is a big creature.
Yeah.
And obviously you can assume reasonably that the creature isn't. It might have a 10-mile wide territory, but it won't be everywhere at once. So you know. That doesn't mean that it's constantly bothering the players or whatever. Preys on wild game, so it just eats things, but it also fights things that might have valuables on them. And it also gets in fights with kind of its equals, I suppose. It talks about how it basically picks fights with everything. Its greatest rivals are dragons, griffins, manticores, peritons, and wyverns. You know.
Everything.
That's a pretty broad spectrum if you want to be starting a fight, you know.
It's kind of like it's like every other and the greatest game of all.
Yeah.
It's like interesting to note that all of the rivals it mentions here are just winged creatures.
Oh yeah.
So basically everything with wings.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
No rocks though, because I think rocks are a bit out of its league because they're massive.
Yeah, they're normally like neutral, like things.
Rock.
Rocks. Birds of the sky. I don't know. Birds are in the sky normally.
Birds of a feather. It also says that it is a servant of evil. It says, though chimeras are far from cunning, their draconic ego makes them susceptible to flattery and gifts. If offered food and treasure, a chimera might spare the traveller. A villain can lure a chimera into a service by keeping it well fed and its treasure hoard well stocked.
And there you go. You got a reason for the chimera to be around your big bad. You know? They can eat. They can be kept as pets, and that's a cool idea for you.
It's kind of a running theme for this show as well. Just keeping really cool pets for your baddies.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And hopping into it later, we'll see that he's not very intelligent, so it'll be very easy to make him a pet for your villain. But we'll get into that later.
Will we do that right now?
Shall we jump into it right now?
Well, we'll do meat and potatoes now, but we'll talk about how to use them after that.
Oh, of course.
Oh boy.
Let's hop in and talk about this stat block.
It's time to go to Dinner Town.
Oh, nice one, Tim.
It was very clean, Tim. It was a nice clean take.
Oh,
Yeah.
perfect. Thank you.
All right, so what we got here? We got Chimera. He's a large monstrosity, and he's chaotic evil. Makes sense.
Nice.
I guess
Nice.
he's part dragon, so dragons are normally they're normally chaotic evil, the kind of chromatic dragons. Is that right?
It depends on the dragon, basically. Some of them are chaotic, some are lawful, some are neutral evil.
Yeah. Then
In the art it depicts a red dragon who I think is chaotic evil.
yeah.
But that's a good point. You could very easily change its alignment and justify it by changing the type of dragon it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
that's
calling it chaotic is also gives credence to its conflictedness. Like
Yes, 'cause
it's
there's three different
whatever the
egos.
dragon is going to have one thing, but the lion's going to want to do another, and the old ram or whatever.
Don't get me started on that ram.
Oh, the ram
It's a
loves
wild
to party.
card.
He just got a glow stick in its mouth.
The ram's always got like sunshades on because it's always got a hangover.
Yeah. All right, go on, guys. I don't want to eat these people today. I just want to lie down.
I just want to eat some grass.
I'm
you
a
guys.
herbivore, you
Yeah.
assholes.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay. Armor class 14, fairly low, especially for a monster of its challenge rating.
And
So-
a part dragon as well, actually.
Yes. So nice and easy to hit, but it's compensated for by the fact that it has 114 hit points,
Yeah.
which is quite a lot. It's quite a good number of hit points.
Yeah.
And of course, both of those factors are complemented by this, which is the fact that it has two speeds. It has a 30-foot land speed, so it's as fast as an adventurer. And then it's got a 60-foot fly speed, so it's twice as fast as any adventurer as long as it's in the air. So obviously, it can use that to its advantage. It'll be staying out of reach a lot. It'll be avoiding the worst of the party, like if the party have a really strong, say, a barbarian or even a paladin who can deal a lot of up-close damage. The Chimera can really easily, mitigate a lot of their ability to deal damage by staying far away.
Yeah.
Or at least by using its mobility.
Stat block, you got Strength 19, Dex 11, Constitution 19, Intelligence 3, Wisdom 14, and Charisma 10. So a regular stat block, but as I said, 3 Intelligence, It's almost like
Yes.
he's an animal with that. But
Yeah,
he's
interesting.
2/3
That's-
animal.
To me, that's the most interesting part because he's got a really good he's got a good physical stat block.
Absolutely.
2 very high stats and 1 stat that isn't a negative at least.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised his dexterity is as low as it is because he's a flying creature. Generally, they're kind of given a slightly higher dexterity to reflect greater acrobatic ability, but maybe that means the Chimera is a slightly clumsy flyer.
Yeah, it could be.
But I mean, 19 strength and constitution are both very good, very useful. Obviously, give us a lot of hit points, give us a lot of damage output. And then it's got a good wisdom modifier, which is nice for things like perception, but also things like saving throws.
Yeah.
But it's got a really, really low intelligence. And I was surprised by that, to be honest. I thought it might have an intelligence of maybe 6 or 7. Kind of like, it would be...
Able to be reasoned with.
Yeah, or more like it would be a dumb, impulsive animal, but one that could talk. But as it stands here, and as we get into the senses, where it says here, skills, perception +8, that's fine. Senses, dark vision, like every monster in every book. And then passive perception, 18, which is very good, means it's very likely to spot the rogue or whoever.
Because he's got 3 heads. Yeah.
Because he's got 3 heads, and also because he's an aerial predator.
Yeah.
I didn't think of that. The old perception is +8, which I thought was kind of weird. But if each of them have a wisdom of +2, then all you have to do is add the proficiency, and there you are, +8.
Simple math. Simple math.
Perfect.
Nice and simple. But yeah, and then understands Draconic but can't speak it, which obviously comes back to the idea that it does have that very low intelligence.
Yes.
But it still has a dragon part. I'm also surprised by the fact that it has such a low intelligence score. But I think that's fine. It's interesting, actually. We're not going to get to it for a while, but I think this low intelligence score actually makes it different because, the other kind of evil, relatively low-level flying monster is the Manticore. But the Manticore is smart enough to talk.
Yeah.
So I think that maybe it having a low intelligence is partly because in the myth it's never suggested to be an intelligent monster, it's just a big dumb animal. But also it means that the Chimera and the Manticore are different. Because the Manticore you can reason with, you can negotiate, you can persuade, you can even cajole or trick it into something. But you can't really do that with the Chimera because it's just going to eat you, and that's all it really cares about. Or like it wants your money and maybe it'll let you run, or maybe it'll take your money and then like attack you anyway. Like you can't bargain realistically. You can just it's like bargaining with an animal. And then it's a challenge rating. Sorry, as I said before, it's a challenge 6 monster. So it's
relatively high level.
I think it's well equipped to be a boss for a party. But that's something we might get to when we talk about encounters a bit more. But I think fundamentally it's not a terrible setup for like a boss. So we get onto its actions.
Let's do.
Yeah.
Tim, would you like to take over?
Sure. So for its actions, it has, as most monsters do, a multi-attack. The Chimera makes 3 attacks, one with its bite, one with its horns, and one with its claws. When its fire breath is available, it can use it in place of its bite or horns. So that's a nice one. It is definitely going to be doing its 3 attacks at any point, but if it can do its fire breath again, it will be using it.
Yes.
Very, very cool. It has a nice little bite with a nice +7 to hit and a 5-foot reach as you'd expect. And it does 2d6 +4 piercing damage with the all pointy teeth. Classic. Again, it has similar for its claws with the 2d6 +4, but it's slashing damage. But the only difference in its physical attacks is its horns, which do 1d12 +4. Which is bludgeoning damage, which I assume is the ram just kind of butting you with its head.
Yes.
Yeah. And then once it has gotten that out, whether it's chosen whichever one, it can throw its fire breath at you with a recharge of 5 to 6. The dragon head exhales fire in a 15-foot cone. Each creature in that area must make a DC 15 dexterity saving throw, taking 78 fire damage on a failed save or half as much damage on a successful one. So it's just a classical fire breathing attack with a recharge of 5 to 6, so it has a potential to do it once per 3-ish turns.
So this is a nice, like, straightforward monster stat block.
Yeah.
You've got 3 different attacks. I do appreciate the little touch that all of its different attacks do kind of very similar damage. I think that's kind of cute. Especially the bite and the horns doing like 2d6 versus 1d12 being like very similar mathematically. That's kind of fun. And the fire, but obviously, like, what's interesting is that the fire breath is like so much more damage, although I don't know if that's surprising or not. I guess it probably makes sense because it'll basically show up every
3 turns.
Third round, effectively. Like, statistically it shows up every third round, so they'll get it once for free, and then they'll get it every third round after that, assuming it lasts that long. So it'll do maybe upfront damage of about 50, assuming it lands all its attacks, and rolls about average.
Yeah, and it's good. It's a good boss for the suitable level party because, you know, it's got a bunch of moves, but it has that special fire breath attack. So you get to do that once or twice on your party, give them a lot of damage, and then just hit them a couple times. But like, you just kind of want to have that one turn where you hit your party with a lot of damage, and then kind of go from there, really. Because
what I like a lot about a fight with the Chimera is I feel like it could feel very almost cinematic in a way where, like, you know, it shows up and it like breathes fire on the group, and maybe like 2 or 3 of the party members get hit. And what's interesting about, like, you know, things like save based damage like this one, where everyone has to make a save, and if they pass they take half as much damage, and if they fail they take all the damage. What's interesting is that it's one of those few ways, in fact I think it might be generally the only way in 5th edition to guarantee damage, to basically, you know, guarantee that you're going to deal damage to everyone in the party. It's one of the few times that's going to happen, versus making attack rolls or making saving throws where if you succeed you take no damage. So you'll have this kind of one turn where it'll show up and use its dragon's breath, and then it'll start attacking the party. And what I sort of like is the idea that, like, you know, when you roll the dice to recharge the power, that, like, as you roll, if you roll successfully, you might, like, describe how the dragons, like, maw lights with flame, and so the party kind of know, now we know that the power is back, and they'll try to, like, position themselves to avoid being hit by it the second time. I just think that idea is very cool. I like that a lot.
I really like the Chimera narratively for fights, because I like to describe what's going on in as much detail as I can, so having lots of different attacks, even if they do similar damage, is very, very appealing to me. I like it a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, the number of attacks it gets gives it quite a lot of flexibility, which is nice. The fact that it gets 3 attacks every turn means that it can focus fire one party member, or it can spread out its damage, and it's obviously very mobile, so it can really kind of pick and choose who it's going to fight and how it's going to fight them. And I think that's what you do to make the fight interesting. You have it use its flight ability to go over the front line and go for the artillery, go for like the wizard and the ranger who don't have as much who don't have as much armor and don't maybe have as much health. And that doesn't mean like you have to focus them down necessarily, but just the idea that the Chimera is kind of able to demonstrate that it can move around and things like that.
And it has its wisdom, so it would kind of know to do something like that. It wouldn't just be flogged by the tanks.
Shall we move this on to the next segment then, if we're kind of already starting?
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
Yeah, let's have our dessert then. Let's move on. Encounters.
What's for dessert?
Deviled eggs.
Oh, that's a terrible dessert.
Yeah, but it's all we got. It's all we got.
I was going to say, today I had dinner with my dad, and for dessert I had 3 flavors of sorbet, just like the 3 heads of the Chimera. I had lemon, mango, and blackberry.
That is, wow. Oddly, that's nice. Oddly topical.
Yeah, there you go. It was actually they were lovely sorbets. They weren't very watery. They were very flavorful. Nice. That
actually kind of goes weirdly into what I'm about to say here.
I was going to say the colors match the different monsters.
But because I was playing Dragon's Dogma recently, and the first, pretty much the tutorial boss you fight, and I think you fight it a couple other times. You fight a Chimera. And I just remember there's points of it where you can kind of jump on them like Monster Hunter style or like Shadow of the Colossus style, and you can kind of hit them, and you can kind of hit the certain parts of the Chimera, and you kind of they parts of it die, and then let's say if you kind of kill the goat part, then the goat part's dead, and then if you kill the snake part as well, then it's just the lion kind of part attacking you. I was thinking, maybe, I don't know if I'll probably do this, but just, it is an idea that came to my head, of maybe giving the different parts different health bars, and if you happen to kill maybe like the dragon head, then he doesn't get to do the fire breath, or like the bite, or if you kill the ram part, he doesn't do the ram. You just kind of, I don't know if that will completely weirdly change up the stat block and kind of the encounter and the mechanics and how it's designed, but
maybe
it might be a cool way of doing it.
Maybe
just
kind of a way to do that is to have like kind of HP points, like when it goes down 1/3, whatever part your player says that he's attacking, they like chop off that head or something like that, and maybe they won't be able to use the horns as the ram or something if its head is chopped off, but it's no huge effect.
It's cool, but I don't know if that would make the encounter a lot easier, because when let's say if you lop off the ram's head, then he won't do the ram damage, and it's just going to be an easier fight, and he won't be able to do that every turn. But I just thought it was cool. It was a cool thing in the game, but it might not translate well to D&D, but that was all I was thinking during this.
Yeah, it's a cool idea. It's a nice one, because chopping stuff off is quite satisfying, if a little visceral and a bit hardcore.
Yeah, but we're gamers. We can have that.
We can take it.
So what's interesting about what you're describing, DC, and this is something I checked as part of my research, what you're describing, I actually thought the Chimera had that, and I was wrong. The Hydra has that, actually.
Yeah.
The Hydra, as part of its stat block, has an ability called multiple heads, and basically how that works is it has a number of heads, and it just says, like, at the start it has 5 heads. When it has more than one head, it gets a bunch of bonuses. Whenever it takes 25 damage or more with a single attack, a head gets cut off, and if all of its heads are cut off at once, it dies, regardless of what HP it's actually on. Additionally, at the end of its turn, it grows 2 heads for each one head that was cut off. Yeah. So it works exactly like the Hydra.
We are all over Hercules or Heracles.
Heracles.
Heracles. Manacles.
It's me, Heracles.
Heracles.
So you could do something like that. What I would say is, if you wanted to do the idea that, like, as you damage the Chimera, it loses its attacks and becomes easier to defeat, I would say come up with, like, some counterpoint to that. If you know what I mean. Like, if it's going to get weaker later in the fight, like, because the reason the Hydra has that as its mechanic is because obviously the Hydra's thing is you cut off one head and 2 heads grow. So, like, obviously if you cut off heads, that's fine because it has a mechanic to deal with that. But if you, like, cut off the dragon head, it's just like, okay, your Chimera has lost one of its head.
Yeah.
It doesn't grow back. It's just that he doesn't have the part of it.
Or maybe you could just have all of the heads breathe fire. Like, I can imagine the goat's head breathing fire, and that looks pretty badass to me.
That's true.
Yeah.
You could, like, to me, like, to me, I totally agree with that idea. But to me, this is a total example of what the cold shot rule is for.
Yeah.
Like,
that's not. Yeah, it's not really a rule in 5e.
No.
But
yeah, I think it's. I don't know if it actually is in any of the rules.
It's not.
But if it isn't, then it's just, I guess, covered under the generic. You can always do whatever you want in combat. Just ask your DM.
Yeah.
But, like, cold shots are cool and should totally exist. So for those of you who don't know, a cold shot is kind of an old D&D tradition, and the mechanic has always been quite similar. The idea is that, obviously, that, like, in D&D, when you attack someone, you just kind of roll to attack them, and it's not clear, like, what specifically you're doing. It's just that you're somehow harming them if you succeed, and obviously you fail to harm them if you don't hit them. But a cold shot is like, I want to attack their arm and make them drop their weapon, or, like, I want to attack their leg and make them fall over. I want to, like, smash the shield out of their hand or whatever. And the general rule for cold shot has always been, you can do that, but you'll take a penalty to hit because it's obviously harder to do something specific. There used to be very specific rules, like if you wanted to attack the head, it was -4 to the attack. If you wanted to attack the arms, it was -2, blah, blah. But, you can, in 5th edition, the most straightforward way is whenever a player wants to make a cold shot, you just say, okay, well, you have disadvantage for the attack because you're doing something specific.
Okay. Makes the most sense, yeah.
But like to me, this seems like a perfect way for that rule to exist, right? The idea that like if one of the players goes, well, that dragon head is the most dangerous one because it's always breathing fire. Can I try to cut it off? It's like absolutely,
Yeah.
But it won't be easy. Like
like if I was a player and I was fighting the Chimera, then if I noticed the dragon head breathing fire and like certain parts doing certain things, I'd be like, maybe if I did happen to kill the dragon head, it might like get rid of that problem for me. I don't know. Like it's a nice assumption to make, and if your players make that assumption, it'll be cool to reward them with that. You know, with that like, oh, you killed, like maybe if they kill a dragon head, then it just gets rid of that for them. You know, like if they make that little observation. I mean, like one thing I have noticed is that as a general rule, players will in combat choose to just kind of roll a dice to do some damage. Because what they want is a reliable input and a reliable output, and that's very reasonable. I'm not complaining. Everyone wants a degree of certainty in everything they do. And I it is my honest, heartfelt opinion that the people who make the most interesting decision in combat are DMs. Because they have the ability to look at the combat outside of, I want to deal 7 damage to a Chimera this turn. They're able to go, well, actually, hang on, wouldn't it be really cool? Like another cool thing you could do with the Chimera, right, is if the players want to try and grapple the mouths closed, so then like if I grapple the dragon head, it can't use its fire breath anymore. Like
or
that
if you
makes
grapple
total sense.
The lion head, it can't bite as effectively.
It can't bite, and then it loses its bite attack, and then it's got one less attack, and that's what it's all about. It's all about like disabling parts of the monster. Like that'd be really cool.
Maybe that's part of kind of subduing it so that you can have it as your pet now. Like you have to show your strength over it, and then it feels inferior or something.
But like I think all that's really interesting, but I legitimately suspect no player will do that without you provoking them.
That yes, actually, when you bring that up, that makes a lot of sense. And I hope players are listening to this and are kind of
step up your game.
Thinking,
I hope we can make them think like DMs more. You know,
like I don't want to. I'm not trying to diss on anyone. I'm not trying to complain. I love running games for players, but like I will write an encounter and like I will be like, oh, there's a couple of different things I could do here, or like but to be honest, I don't even think about that anymore because there's no point. Because as soon as I start thinking about what they could do in a fight, I'm trying to figure out how to get them to do that. But I shouldn't do that. I should just be like, well, here's the fight. What do you do, boss? You know? I think that's the best outlook. So yeah, as a DM, it is a uniquely frustrating experience to think about all the cool ways you could fight a monster. Because it's not your job. Basically.
I think with regards like describing it and actually being as descriptive about your attack as you can, I think Matt Mercer from Critical Role has a very good way of doing it, but it's like exclusively on the very last hit. He'll say, how do you want to do this? And then everybody will cheer, and then they will get to describe how they want to like do the final hit. You know, they want to blow it up, or do they want to like stab it this way or that way. Like during the game, like I like to do this as well. He will describe the person's attack. Like some of them, like Ashley Johnson tends to just do an attack and then the attack will be done, but Matt Mercer will kind of take the reins and describe how it happens, and like he'll give hints as to the effect of it when he's doing the attack. And I think that's one way that you can kind of get it out of your players, you know, like if you want to do something really cool, you can describe it, or you know, you can defer to me and I'll describe it. I think that's a cool dynamic that you can have with your players. As
a DM myself, it's very hard to like describe every single hit in an interesting way. I love doing it though. It's so much fun. Anyway, how about this? Because how about we do our normal vanilla thing and say, how would we put our players up against the Chimera? You know, walking in a field, bam, there is a random encounter table. Chimera is in front of you. What do?
1d8 plus 3 gladiators. Should we explain that story just a little bit?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, It's from your book, right? So you explain it, Mikey.
Oh yeah, I have in Xanathar's Guide to Everything. There's a bunch of random encounter tables, and then there's like the urban encounters. And I don't know what level we're looking at, but
this is the funny part. We were looking at levels. I think it was 17 to 20 or something.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it was like 1d8 plus 3 gladiators want to fight, and I just went like, okay, what happens is the party sits down, the wizard gets up, takes off all their magic items and cracks their knuckles. The wizard is going to beat the shit out of 8 like gladiators on their own. Yeah. And everyone else is just going to watch because they're level 20.
Yeah.
These gladiators are fucked.
It's that, or it's just like, they show up and you're like, all right, who's taking these guys now? Like,
basically.
Like gladiators don't fight for fun. Like gladiators are essentially slaves that have just been thrown into a fight thing, so they're not going to want to just see a group of people and go, oh, I need some practice. So I'm going to practice on these randos.
So stupid. I guess we'll just Rochambeau for us to fight this group of a-holes who think they've got a chance.
There's like 1d10 guards looking for someone.
Just
a load of guards go up to you and say, have you seen this guy? No. Okay. And they run away.
Keep an eye out. Thanks.
A D20 was or like 20 on it was a 1 Tarask, which is pretty funny. Yeah, where you're walking in a nice city, like it's a nice day, and then an earthquake happens, like and then a Tarask just comes out of nowhere and takes the entire
alley
city.
And it's just in there.
Yeah, it's just there.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's ridiculous. Random encounter tables are funny.
1d8 plus 3 gladiators. What do you do?
Fight me all.
So for the Chimera, I think what Daniel described earlier is like a very effective way. Like maybe like they're essentially in a field and they've basically walked into its 10-mile radius stalking area, and if they
10-mile diameter.
10-mile diameter. So
there's a big difference.
Yeah.
About 20 miles.
They aggroed the Chimera.
Yeah, essentially. And so the Chimera will swoop in with a flame breath, and maybe they'll see it coming with a perception check of like 15 or something, because nobody thinks to listen for it unless it's just screaming at them. You can give them a roar that they hear if you want to not be surprised.
Yeah, there's one man head on the Chimera now. It just screams at you.
Oh! Yeah. Or the goat. They have a screaming goat.
Oh yeah, the goat.
That's a great 2-year-old meme.
Oh God, he's here.
The other head turns to look at it like, oh, for fuck's sake, and then it just flies away.
Yeah.
Steal yourselves.
The screaming goats have come. But
So I think probably your players will be warned of a Chimera because of the large hunting area they have. I think certainly travelers or merchants have run into them.
It probably would be known. You're probably right.
Also, I think they're dumb enough that people could escape them.
Mm-hmm. Just throw a hunk of meat at them.
Yeah, I think in general, like they could, like a canny merchant could just abandon their like wares and just run, like bolt for a set of woods, and they'd be fine. Because the Chimera probably can't easily fit or fly through woods because the trees would be in the way. I think probably the players would be warned of that Chimera before they went to its hunting grounds. Might even be reasonable to say that their reason for hunting the Chimera is the exact same as the mythological reason, that they were, hired by a king. Excuse me. They were hired by a king.
Test your strength kind of thing.
Or just being paid dollars.
Yeah. Dollar bill.
I'll give you $7 and a voucher for a barber shop.
Ooh. Oh, excellent. Yeah, needed a haircut.
I actually do need a haircut. Great.
It's a D&D game. No one gets haircuts in D&D world. But yeah, Chimeras, like, they just, like, historically they are just that monster that you can just go off and, like, someone pays you money to fight him and you fight him, it's just a D&D monster, it's a great example of that.
Exactly. It is literally a mythological monster, like classic, like effects about in the wilds, and you go, all right, that's enough, and you show up and you beat it up. And
exactly, yeah.
Maybe there's like a kind of a business mogul or like a property developer or something, and he's looking to to get more land, essentially, and he wants to look for people to get rid of this chimera so that he can take the lands and sell them on or whatever. Like build a small refinery or something for the fields nearby so that he can have a better product or something.
What every exciting fantasy story needs is real estate. Like
it's like in fucking Superman, where the plot is real estate.
Oh yeah. Love
it. Going to blow up California so that all this property will become beachfront real estate.
Is that Superman 3 or 4?
I think that's Superman 3, right?
4 is the war on drugs. Yeah.
No, because is 3 Quest for Peace or is that 2?
That's 4. Sorry. No. Yeah. Sorry. 2. No. Yeah. 3 is that the 4? Yeah. 4 is Quest for Peace, and 3 is the one with Richard Pryor.
Wait, is that the one where I'm going to blow up all of California? I'm going to blow up the San Andreas Fault to sink California so that all the property on the other side becomes beachfront property, and that's the motivation of the villain. I'm not kidding. That's the motivation of the villain. That's the reason.
Yeah, because 4 had Nuclear Man.
Oh,
Remember Nuclear Man?
What's this podcast about again?
Hey, welcome to our Superman, right? Welcome to our Superman podcast, where we talk about only the 4 original Superman live action films. Yeah.
Oh fuck.
Shit. What were we actually talking about beforehand? Yes. No. But just you can set this guy up in so many ways where like anybody can say, listen, this chimera is messing about in this land. Help me out, kill it, I'll give you money. It can be anyone. Mm-hmm. If they have money, they'll give it to you. You know, like a king, a business mogul, as Tim said, like adventuring company, like a bounty that's left up on a notice board, or you can just come across it as it is, and then maybe you can bring it back and look for the bounty yourself. It can be done in millions of ways.
It can be. I think Daniel used the manticore quite effectively, where we knew that there was a manticore in the vicinity of this little city because there was a kind of a bounty out for this monster's head, and we kind of came across it on our adventures, and it was a cool way to kind of tie in, like, we know that there is a manticore, so we're going to be facing it at some point, but it might surprise us on our other adventures. And I thought that was a cool thing that you did, Daniel, for us.
I'm glad you liked that.
Yeah, it was cool.
Save that for our Manticore episode, guys.
Yeah, the only thing I was going to say about that is that that's a great example of, like, if other people in the world know that this thing is a problem or a threat, then obviously if it is enough of a problem or a threat, it shows up as a bounty or some other like authority figure might requisition adventurers to defeat it.
Yes.
And that's a simple example of doing that. And this is something that I have become increasingly aware of, is that like a lot of players are very happy, and this isn't a complaint, like are very happy if someone just hires them to kill something. Like if they're like, you seem pretty good at what you do, you want to go kill a monster and get like, I don't know, like $8 and a Centra voucher or something?
Hell yeah.
I can hook you up.
Free lunch. Woo.
Oh yes, I'm gonna get like a fucking 6-pack of snack bars.
Yes, and eat them all in one go.
Wow. And I'm gonna feel sick afterwards.
Yeah.
Just like real life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this game is so real.
Yeah, you can honestly do whatever you want in this game.
Yeah.
Getting sick after eating too much sugar,
just so real. Yeah, so the Chimera is a really awesome example of a classic wandering monster. You can run it almost everywhere. The other things to note about it is it does have a lair. It does hoard treasure like a dragon, that is described. So that's a great motivation for self-motivating players who like to pursue their own agendas. Mm-hmm. It's very reasonable that even without the incentive of a bounty, they hear about or discover that a Chimera exists in a local region and decide, well, we know it's got a hoard of treasure, so maybe it's worth our time going after it just to get its money. Or maybe we just steal the hoard. That's always cool. Like a kind of a fun like caper where the party have to like sneak through the Manticore's lair and steal its treasure without getting caught because they're kind of too low level to fight it.
Yeah. Okay, so how would... Sorry, Tim, go ahead.
Oh, well, I was going to say, I was trying to think of different mixes of things that you could make into a Chimera. And I was looking back over our previous episodes that we've done, and I think the only one that is like consistent with 3 of them would be a bullet, a basilisk, and an ankeg would be a pretty cool thing to mix together Because the bullet is like super fast moving underground. The basilisk is also a fast mover underground and digs, but it has like the petrification thing that it can do, and then the Ankeg is just it's just there, just like the goat.
I'm gonna
I think
say
all of my chimeras have to include a goat.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what makes them a chimera.
I'm gonna say horse, awakened shrub, and
Yes.
man.
Yes.
Man.
Yes.
Ultimate
Man.
game.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
just
Yes.
it's ultimate
Yes.
predator. Yes.
My chimera is just goat.
For real though.
You've
For
just
real.
got three goats on a leash there, Daniel.
Real talk, guys. Triple goat. That'll be a pretty good monster.
Yeah, the
Triple goat would be
multi-goat.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Man.
Might have to draw up that stat block. No, but I was going to ask is how would you guys do the encounter? You know, just your players versus the chimera. How would you do it any special way, or is there any certain ways that you would do it for our people at home? Like if they just wanted to do a regular chimera encounter.
I think just out in the open. Just a classic encounter.
Yeah,
Just throw one at them.
I think the chimera prefers out in the open.
Yeah, for sure.
If I wanted to come up with a place where, you know, I think there's a lot of places you could have the encounter. I think maybe the only thing I can think of specifically is that if the chimera could fight the party on cliffs or on that's probably the wrong word for it, like somewhere like where there's a lot of verticality in play, where it can take advantage of its flight. So somewhere where it can threaten the party with like basically bowling them over and throwing them off whatever they're on.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
That's cool. Yeah. Like kind of a cliff area. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Or like
cliffs or like
a very huge underground cavern, maybe. Because it has dark vision consistently. So
yeah, or kind of like if you got like the Giant's Causeway and like turned it up to 11 and just made like really big, very, very like big like stone hexagons, lots of actual height difference that could really cause a lot of harm if you fell, that kind of thing.
very cool.
Fantasy Giants Causeway.
You could even use the hexagon side of your map to represent the hexagons.
And you could use
Yay.
real giants to get
Finally
you to go.
a reason to use that hexagon map.
It is my gift to you.
Yes.
Monster Hunter this monster. Any ideas?
I think I think you're able to turn each of their heads into a helmet, and if 3 players wear those helmets, they combine into a single chimera.
Yes.
You're going to live out your Power Rangers
The 3
fantasies.
characters.
Or I'm thinking like I'm thinking you have like if you want to get the full armor bonus, you kind of have a like lion helm and then like gauntlets where one of them is a dragon head.
Very
one,
cool.
one of them is a ram head.
Nice. Full armor set. The Chimera armor set.
Yeah. And then you can fly. You have wings after that and you can breathe fire. You pretty much just do dragon stuff, but you have a weird lion and ram head on.
Well, you know, because the ram head gives you like an improved unarmed attack, and the lion head and the dragon head lets you like shoot fire bolts or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the horn, if it does 1d12 damage, that's pretty hefty.
Yeah.
That's deck someone.
I like that. That's a good one.
What a
I'm a fan of
hilarious
that one.
idea.
That
That's
is
really good.
It's really good, but it's also very funny.
Yeah,
It is.
totally.
It's a very funny image. That is not a Creature Club freebie. That's for me and me only, guys. I'm keeping it.
Okay, jeez.
Nah.
Okay.
We'll
I'm
copyright it before the episode comes out.
Yeah. Nah. I kid. Take it all you want. Yeah, that's my idea. Tim, do you have any ideas? Anything comes to your head?
Well, I think just whatever you make your Chimera out of, just find something cool to do with it. Like if it's a Behir or something has a Behir head, just give them like a lightning touch kind of thing. I don't know, just whatever your Chimera has as an ability, just offer that as like a small boon that you can give to your party, like a gauntlet or a piece of armor, or I don't know, maybe a necklace.
It's a very political answer there.
Yeah, well, you know, I like to make everybody happy, so
Good save.
yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense though. Yeah, just kind of keep the ability that head has or that body part has. It makes sense. Yeah.
And at level 6, as a challenge rating 6, at level 6, you're going to be able to very effectively use a 1d12 punch with a ram's head.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I would.
I want to talk about my 3 helmets a little bit.
All right.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
So each player, I think as soon as you put the helmets on, you 3 of you chimerify.
Yep.
So you blend into one person. But I don't think you turn into this chimera. I think you're just 3 characters in one character.
Fusion.
So you get everyone's
fusion,
everyone's best legs, you get everyone's best arms, and then 3 heads. And if anyone has any wings or tails, you get those. Whichever one is the best one if there's multiple.
That sounds horrific, Daniel.
Well, you get to act 3 times in combat, and you get all of your best. You all get to share stats, so everyone uses their best stats for everything.
Yeah.
And you get 3 actions every turn and stuff like that.
Oh no! Actually, Daniel, just to correct it, a chimera combines the worst aspects of its 3 parts. So you have to use your worst stats and your worst
so
attacks.
it's an unusable item at that stage. It's actually cursed. It's a cursed item.
Cursed item. Yeah, yeah.
You put it on and you get fucking Cronenberg with 2 other assholes and you're stuck like that forever.
We here in Creature Club had to call them prank items, not cursed items.
Prank items, yeah.
Just a prank, bro.
Very good.
But yes, fusion is something I wanted to put into D&D for a while now, and I'm trying to find a way, and this might be a good idea.
It might be it, yeah.
It might be it. It might finally be the time where you use it.
We've done
fucking
it.
Fucking Power Rangers style, like a big Zord.
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Yeah.
With our powers combined. No, that's
Captain
Planet.
there, Timothy, but sure, that's fine.
We'll
Tell you what, though, a chimera you
type,
could pilot like a Megazord would be pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, that would be very cool. It's like the Power Rangers movie.
Yep, with Ivan Ooze.
You got it.
Ivan
What?
Ooze.
What?
Yeah.
What do you mean with
The Power Rangers movie.
What part of it?
They all get different animals' abilities. Like
Yeah.
and
Well, that's
then
just Power Rangers in general.
the Megazord gets all of their powers, and it's
That's
great.
not just in the movie, is it?
Yeah.
That's,
Oh, is it
that's
not?
just Power Rangers in general.
Oh, well then Power Rangers.
I thought specifically there was a chimera in the movie that I'd forgotten.
Oh man.
No.
If I could, anytime someone tries to argue with me on this point anymore, I wish I could just play the whittle 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 whittle, the like really widdly theme song.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
Go Power Rangers!
I like how in this show we want to give some sound advice for DMs out there, and then we just went wild with this last part about transforming into infusing our player characters into each other and stuff. It's pretty mad.
It's pretty hog wild.
That's kind of maybe one of the maddest, Creature Club suggestions that we've done it so far. I'd say, but I'm cool with it. I'm fine.
Yeah, it's jazz, baby.
Yeah, it's all jazz here.
It's true.
Any closing statements, guys, about chimeras?
I think they're cool.
All right. You heard it here, folks.
Yeah.
It's going to be in the headlines tomorrow. It's going to be in the
Tim.
They won't shut up about it. Yeah.
Podcast Schmo is a fan of chimeras.
yeah. I just picture
God.
do you guys know the shot of the newspaper where it kind of spins around?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And then Podcast Schmo says chimeras are cool, and it
I
has
love how we always call ourselves Podcast Schmoes.
Yep.
yeah, that's just
Perfect.
it's just a picture of Tim, being dragged out of
Yeah, with a coat over my head.
yeah, and
Legend.
then he just looks very drunk,
I'll say it. I'll say it.
swear.
Chimeras are cool.
Okay, cool. Daniel, closing statements.
Closing statements. We didn't really talk about this much, but I don't know how much there is to talk about. The Chimera does make an excellent mount for a high-level villain.
That's true, yeah.
They might even make an excellent mount for a high-level villain team of 3 members because there's 3 heads to ride on.
I don't think they're
could
that
be
big though.
Fun. They're large.
Large? Could they carry three medium creatures?
They could carry probably 2 medium creatures, one on front, one on back. They look pretty big.
Yeah.
Possibilities.
Yes, because seeing as it can kind of be bribed easily, or kind of you can be bribed easily. And they can be kept as pets easily enough to probably use as a mount. So, yeah, it's not a weird idea to make it a mount for your villains. So
Totally.
do that, guys. That's a good idea.
Yeah. And if the Chimera in your world is less immediately violent and more territorial and just kind of animalistic, you could think about the consequences of it breeding with other animals in your ecology. So obviously, in Greek myth, it's responsible for the Nemean lion and the Sphinx, but we don't necessarily know who the male progenitors of those creatures are. In fact, it probably says it somewhere in the myth, but that's less important. The point I'm trying to make is the idea that this creature could be sort of the father/mother of other monsters, and how because it has so much monster already in it, what parts get taken out, what parts stay. So like, maybe that's how you get Nemean lions in your setting. You get like these, invincible lions who maybe you get some stuff from the Chimera, so maybe it gets to breathe fire or something like that.
Yeah.
Or, maybe sphinxes and chimeras are somehow linked. And how is that? Because they're very different. Sphinxes are very intellectual, and they're about, overcoming challenges, and they love riddles and puzzles, whereas the Chimera is a big, dumb lion ram dragon. So like,
show him, Daniel. Show him.
You tell him.
Get him, Daniel. Get him.
Big and...
Is one of them like the corrupted offspring of the other, or are they familiar related with a similar forebear that's like, maybe ashamed of one of them or the other based on who they are? So maybe like the Demogorgon is the sire of both the Chimera and the Sphinx, but the Sphinx is like turned against the Demogorgon, and that's why they're all intellectual.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Who knows?
Just some ideas for your world.
Cool.
That's
beans.
interesting. That's very interesting. I like that idea. I like that idea too.
Indeed.
I think they're cool too.
Podcast Schmo agrees with other podcast Schmo.
Yeah.
I'll never say it. You can't make me.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, sorry. One other thing. When I mentioned the fact that you could change the dragon's color if you wanted to change the creature's alignment, another thing to consider is that changing the dragon's color changes the dragon's breath.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
So if you wanted to have a cool dragon, a cool chimera who breathed acid or breathed lightning or whatever, do that.
Change to the according color.
You could even do something fun where you have like a good dragon, and maybe that makes the chimera a nice chimera instead.
Oh,
yeah,
nice. A very pleasant one.
So maybe it's like a gold dragon and a unicorn and what's another nice creature?
Flumph.
Incredible. Yes. Yes.
Just end the podcast. It's not going to get better than that.
It's true, though. It's true, guys. They are good.
They are.
Look it up.
Look it up. Correct. Yep.
Fucking uncultured swine. Anyway, guys, thank you for joining us on Creature Club this week.
Jesus Christ.
For talking about chimeras. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Sorry if we felt a little bit sleepier and weirder, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a bit late and we're all a bit strange today. But, I would say next time will be not weirder, but,
you never know.
I don't know if that's even a good thing anymore.
We don't want to lie to you.
Yeah, we're not going to lie to you because we're kind of weird people. But thanks so much for joining us, guys. We have our website, which is creatureclubpodcast.com, where you can see all the episodes. You can comment on them if you so wish. You can email us at creatureclubpodcast@gmail.com, where you can send us stuff on that. We're always looking for homebrews because we want to do a big homebrew special at some point. So send them on the email or on the website, or just send on if you have any questions or queries. If you have used a chimera at any point, we would love to know. If you just want to talk to us, then go ahead, send us something. We love hearing anything from you guys. It's always been great. We just want people to listen to us. That's it.
Yeah, on the subject of the ways you can contact us, I just want to do a quick shout out. Obviously, friend of the podcast, Stephen Brady, sent us another homebrew. He sent us a monster that's apparently based on the movie A Quiet Place. I don't know if you guys have seen that. It's like a sort of a... Well, not the movie, but the monster. I'm just going to talk about that. I don't want to spoil it.
Sure.
But the monster itself. Sorry,
I have I've know what the movie's about, but I'm gonna make sure I see the film before we talk about the monster when the homebrew.
Yes,
episode.
I might see the movie. I've heard it's a little bit scary though. And
you don't like scary films. Yeah.
I don't like scary anything.
Scary films.
So that might be something for you two boys to do your research on. But yeah, so he sent us a homebrew monster that's based on the monster from A Quiet Place, which is pretty cool. And also Darren Woodson, who is a new listener who commented on our Carrion Crawler episode and basically told us how we were wrong, which is fine because that's exactly what the point of the comments are. The only way that we will learn and also that other people will learn is if we are corrected when we are wrong.
Yeah, and that's because we're not.
Just got fucking dragged on our own website.
Yeah. We got schooled, and that's cool.
That is cool, DC.
Yeah, so thanks, Darren. Thanks so much for the comment.
Yeah, thank you.
Letting us know. That's really cool of you for just giving us all those tips. And if you guys have any more tips, and if we have been wrong before, then keep telling us, because we like to be told when we're wrong.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys. And if you have a friend who might like this, like a person who plays D&D or someone who's DMing D&D, then send them on this podcast. It'll be great if we get more listeners. But anyway, next week we shall be talking about the Chul, the crustacean-y guy.
Yeah.
He's good. He's a bit mad, so we'll get on to him next week. So anyway,
he is a bit mad. Here's something fun for you to consider, DC. I don't know if you remember, but you've actually fought a Chul in one of my games.
And I have fought a Chul before in another game as well. But did I fight a Chul in one of your games?
Yes. Let's see if you can figure it out by the time we record next week.
Oh wow, that's a fun little game.
I've challenged one of my people to fighting a couple Chuls before as well. So, we have a couple ideas already floating around in our heads, and we can see what we can come up with before next week.
Make sure you join us for the most exciting episode of Creature Code, guys.
No, Jesus Christ.
I just try to get a little bit of hype going, guys. Come on,
no, it's fine.
Thank you so much for listening, guys. I have been Mikey.
I have been Tim.
And I've been Dan.
Stay cool.